Okay, well, welcome back everybody to Aligning with Success. I'm your host, Mike DiMuccio, Royal Diamond with Niken, forever and a day, 29 plus years. But then again, most of you know that already. So wait a second, we were just talking before I hit the record button. What was that, Leo? Can you just share some of that information again? So wait, you had how many guests on your call tonight?
Well, guess again. Each
I
week,
should say, well, let me just say what I was saying earlier. It looks like Quebec is leading the charge in Canada right now. And I mean, that's thanks to Leo's effort and his team. They're very consistent every single month. And I think, Leo, you're in the top spot again for PGV this month. It's not over yet. I'm still chasing you, but it's not over, but you're there right now. And you were just saying you have how many guests on your event tonight?
each Monday, just before this Zoom, I have always 10 or 15 guests each week.
10 or 15 guests. Wow, that's exciting. Well, that tells you where the volume's coming from. You have people that you're introducing to this.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get to that in a second because this is an important point. And you were just saying something about Club Ki.
Okay. This month, I must be finished with one new member, Club Ki. Me, I do every year. I do three times Club Ki, but this year, this Wednesday, Lynn Saint-Martin, you know her?
Yeah.
She do a Club Ki this week, and a brand new silver this week. And April, probably 2 more silver and 1 more Sylvie Prière, Club Ki too.
Fantastic. Wow. So this silver would be 3 silvers in 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, I made a big fuss about Leo's approach to this more than once. And if I need to, I'll do it again, because it's certainly worth looking at. You know, you can only, you know, face facts. And that is that what he's doing is working. And that's what we all want to do is make sure that what we're doing is working. So if you haven't yet checked out Leo's system, by the way, Leo, I don't think I have the updated version, the most recent. I can't remember if you said you shared it with somebody, but if you have, Barb Satterwhite?
Yeah.
Barb, do you have the English version of that yet?
I have to go back and check. It came in French, but you can click it on English, right, Leo?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got both.
It's only in French, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, you know what? Hand it off, pass it along, and I'll share it with the group because it's, again, it's a revision, but the principle is the same. It's just a tweak on the emails that he's sending out and maybe the links that he's using. But what works, and it's a very simple process. But the one thing that I can be sure of, and I think, Leo, you can verify for me, is what makes your system work is that you work your system.
Yeah, I just take and do 1 or 2 contact a day, easy. See, easy, and I just ask for the email address.
And then you begin your system, your approach.
My system, and let my system do a job for me.
You know, the one thing that I think we came away with last week with our guest, our very special guest, Richard Bliss Brooke, the author of The 4-Year Career, he kept saying over and over again, you could probably count on one hand of 1,000 hands of somebody who's doing what Leo's doing. At least one person a day, every day. It's such a rare thing to hear, even in his repertoire, when he talks to a lot of leaders in network marketing at large. And he's very clear about that it's not something that people are in the habit of doing. And especially people who've been in Niken or any network marketing business for a long time. We tend to back off the gas pedal and we don't have the same kind of intensity as when we first got started. So that clearly has an impact on the momentum. So what Leo is doing is not superhuman. He's just doing something that everyone can do with daily consistency. His DMO, his daily method of operation, is contacting at least 1 to 2 new people per day and then putting them in the pipeline. And his pipeline is a process of emails, fairly streamlined, but it's a system that not only he can leverage, he can duplicate. And he's done that, as he just mentioned. He's got a Club Ki in his downline coming on this week. How many of you on this call are hitting Club Ki this month? For those of you who are not familiar with Club Ki, it's 12,000 points within the 3 months of the calendar. And at least I think half of those points need to be at retail, whether that is volume generated by yourself personally, through customers, through sponsoring, or your downline in your personal group, not under another silver. So if you're doing that, which is about 4,000 points a month or thereabouts, but you hit about 12,000 or more in that first three months, and in every 3 months, by the way, it's a rolling 3 months, if I'm not mistaken, the Club Ki now. So even if you miss the 1 month, it's a rolling 3 months, which is kind of exciting that this is the new plan. So there's benefits for Club Ki, namely 500 Nikken reward points that you can use to purchase products or leverage for helping people, whatever. I mean, you can use it as incentives. And of course, there's recognition at all the Nikken online events and so forth. So, but what Leo uses it for, which I really like, and I have as well, by the way, that's how I hit my target last year, was if you do it with some consistency every quarter, you're going to hit the big home run, which is Team Kaizen. And Team Kaizen is the trip, of course. So again, congratulations, Leo. Congratulations for leading the field and duplicating. That's the key. And I'm gonna touch on that. Ben, thanks for joining the call tonight. We're going to be tag teaming over the next 2 calls because he's got an airport visit to make. And so tomorrow when you're on the call, you'll see us bouncing back and forth as I sort of play back catcher for Ben on tomorrow's call.
Yeah, thank you very much for doing that as well, Mike. We make a good team and helping each other out that way.
Totally. Okay, so normally I have something to add. I do have something in reserve I wanted to touch on. But coming off the heels of that call with Richard Brooke, I hope you've all had a chance to revisit it and re-listen to it. It's interesting what you take away. My daughter, by the way, I just want to throw this out there. My daughter came away from that call and thought, maybe he doesn't see making $1 million, but I do. So she's like, and I tried to explain to her, it wasn't about one person making $1 million. It's about a lot of people making income. And of course, if you're that team leader that's built a large team and everybody's doing that, then you're going to do much better. So it's not that it's not possible, not doable, and it shouldn't be a goal. It's just Richard was speaking to the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is if we can have more people generating an income on the side, then eventually what happens is that team grows, that team leader, those team leaders become successful financially through that, yes, that effect of compounding. And feel free to jump in anytime. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but I did want to point this out. I did this slide some months ago. Oh, I guess I got to share my screen. Did I share my screen? No, I haven't shared my screen. I'm going to share my screen. I did this. I don't even remember when I did it, but I just thought, I've never used this to explain this much, but I thought it was worth explaining. So most of you understand cash flow quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. And in order for this to be visible, I've got to figure out how to move this thing around. Anyway, so in cash flow quadrant, what you have are the 4 ways that we earn income. And the employee is obviously the most popular. Most people have a job. And that represents about 75% of the population, by the way. 20% of the population are self-employed. And that number is a strong number because there's a real movement towards self-employment or having a gig or having another source of income. So there's a lot of employees now actually having gigs in addition. So they're not just having one source of income, which is definitely movement in the right direction here. Because through self-employment income, You're able to take advantage of the taxes that were designed specifically for people who are employed or self-employed, that is. You're able to do business outside of the mainstream hours of business or employment, especially if you're a NICAN. And then you can start to design a financial strategy where you can multiply your income. Now, on the right-hand side, where everybody wants to be, is business ownership on the level where your business is actually being managed by you, but it can grow independently of you. And especially if you have money, which is the investor quadrant. And that's such a small percentage of the population, the 5% of the population, for obvious reasons. Not many people have the money that it takes to actually go into business of this nature or have the money to invest. So most people fall onto the left-hand side. Now, what's interesting is you can be a NICAN and also still be on the left-hand side. And I just wanted to touch on the parallels. So if you're selling the products, you're looking for customers, your focus is finding customers, then you're essentially operating as an employee, because when you're not doing that, you're not generating an income. Now, that's not to say that that's not necessary. It's just saying that's the way you're earning income. And that happens to be the largest percentage in the NICAN compensation plan for a reason, because that's where the heavy lifting is happening. It's getting out there, meeting people, introducing them to the products, going through that evaluation process and so forth, and then helping them in an ongoing way to be a consumer. So that is where the heavy lifting is. That's where the lion's share of the profits are in an individual sale. The next piece is sponsoring consultants. That's kind of like being self-employed. It's like you having a small business of employees. Definitely better, because now you're able to generate an income from the efforts of others if those others are actually being profitable. And what I mean by profitable is that they're selling to customers and maybe sponsoring some people of their own. But the real opportunity in network marketing that was being exemplified by Richard Brooke and discussed in his book is the concept of compounding, leveraging through some consistency of effort, which can compound. But that can only happen on the right-hand side if you have a system. And what you're seeing with Leo right now is a consistency, because he has a system. Let me swing these guys over here now. Yeah. So he's got a system where he's able to partner with some people who are willing to go beyond just selling to some customers, maybe sponsoring some consultants. He's teaching them a system, leveraging it and teaching it. And then lastly is the investor category. This is where you're earning income independently of time, independently of even effort in some cases. And this is really about serving the larger community. If you have an organization, it's your service to that organization in the many ways that you can provide service that keeps that income continuing. So for instance, in my case, I've been a supporter of building systems and supporting systems, online, offline, etc. Pretty much my whole career in NICAN, I've been somebody who's building the support structure to serve the community at large. And so that is where the lion's share of my income comes from, is from that being able to be a support to an organization of people. I wanted to point out, though, the distinction between the left-hand side and the right-hand side primarily. And I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm doing, but I know for the recording's sake, I'm shifting the little pictures in pictures so you can see the screen. So that in the recording, it comes out right. So what essentially the left-hand side is an equation of time. Money and time are related one-to-one, essentially. It's the amount of time that you invest to sell customers, to sponsor consultants, where your income is coming from. But the real promise of lifestyle in this business goes beyond that. It goes from learning how to add value. And this is the truth about whether you're talking about network marketing or business of any kind. Most people think money is time. They even say time is money. But in the world of entrepreneurship, money is in proportion to value added. So you're looking for ways to add value, which is not necessarily through time. It's adding value, and there's different ways to add value. And in network marketing, in our business, the most productive way to add value is to learn and teach a system, and then to provide ongoing support to the community through the various mechanisms that are available, such as online events, etc. So obviously, in order for you to really leverage that, you need to start on the left-hand side. You start on the left-hand side, but if you do not migrate, if you don't develop a system, work a system, integrate a system into your effort, that time that you're investing to bring on new consumers and new consultants is not going to get multiplied. So it's really, really important that we start looking at systems and what you're using as a system first and foremost in terms of moving forward on this. Any comments about that?
Yeah, can I say something on that, Mike?
Sure thing.
I think that what you said there should build into our promotional or marketing messages as well. Yeah. I had a conversation with Susan Carver over the weekend, and we were talking about this very principle. And one of the things that we discussed was the role of entrepreneurship today has evolved a lot from what it has been in the past because of technology and the way the world changes so rapidly. Yeah? So now, entrepreneurship and business opportunities abound in 2021 far more than they did in 2001, yeah, or 1991, for example. But she said, and I thought this was really interesting, we use this term of gig economy, being an attractive appeal. The challenge with the gig economy, which we've highlighted, is it kind of fits in that left-hand quadrant still, doesn't it? Where you're trading time for money. It used to be, if I want to do something different, I can swap my current job with a new job. And now it's become, I can keep my job, but maybe I can have a small gig on the side, if I don't mind being an Uber driver or something like that. But I'm still trading my time for money there. The other alternative in regards to entrepreneurship is an e-commerce opportunity. And some people are going, I can sell things online and I can do something that way. And they've got the skills to do that. Others don't. So if you don't have the interest to be an Uber driver, but you've got the skills to be an e-commerce marketeer, then maybe that's a place for you. We've also got places like Etsy now where, maybe I can make things. I'm great at crafting and I can weld things, or I can make birthday cards or novelty things, and I can sell them online and create my own things. And you've got all those types of things. But where does network marketing fit in? That fits in for where people want to move to the right-hand side of the page, where they recognize that I don't want to trade my time for money for the rest of my life. I want to have some choices. I want to be able to create an engine that will work where I can manage it. Like you said, I can manage it, but the appeal is that there are other people that continue to operate it on my behalf, with me, for me, together as a team, so that when I go to bed at night and sleep, I'm still making money. And that is the big attraction that we need to leverage as the opportunity. But that will only come when we are, to back up your point, when we are creating systems. So we've got lots of different attractions in the marketplace right now for people looking for entrepreneurial endeavors. What is the big appeal for us? It's the residual income, or the opportunity to create for ourselves a machine, a business that operates not just because we are present, but sometimes in spite of the fact that we are. Yeah. And that's when we have a great system in place that can take care of it. And so I would really encourage and support that, plugging into the system and promoting it. And just take this moment really quickly to congratulate you, Leo, on doing such a wonderful job in building an organization, getting duplication happening. You're just a superstar. So my hat is off to you. Congratulations, well done. And you're setting a great example. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Barbara. You had your hand up.
You know, it's interesting because a while back I interviewed Susan Carver, and she had a great distinction between prospecting and recruiting. And sometimes we collapse those two. And I don't want to go into that right now, because my little aha that I've gotten between what you shared, Mike, and what Ben, I'm always looking to see, you know, where am I missing the mark and what can I tweak that 1-2%, because that's what I feel I need at the moment. And the missing of the mark right now that I see is from moving from the left to the right. We forget to share about the delayed gratification. That's where you come in with the 4-year plan and the study, and no one became a master network marketer overnight. You have to become the student. You got to put in your time. You've got to look at, you know, wipe on, wipe off. You know, you got to really do the due diligence in order to perfect your skills. I find I had gotten a little lackadaisical with the customer. It's easy. Just sign them up as a customer, get them in, get them to get a couple of products, and kind of feel them out to see where they are. And that's what I'm owning right now. It was easy just to ask them for their email, their address, give them their shipping information, let them just buy from us. And I would actually share, you know, network marketing before was, you know, you had to buy in, become a member, and buy from yourself wholesale. Whether you did the business or not, that was a whole nother thing. But, you know, you had your minimums, you had different things, but that's not network marketing now. Now we've reduced the price of our products, and, you know, we have the customer base. And for not now, but prior, we were all build customers, we got to build customers, you know. And so I have to say, I got lackadaisical in that, Mike. I got, it was easier. And then I would wait for people to ask me the questions, which was rare and far few between, because my process got a little weaker, right? Getting them through the steps, getting them through the things that had them make that educational decision. Did they make that Zoom? Did they make this thing? Did they watch that video? I don't really know, right? I don't really know if what I send out they watch, unless I have a better contact type of, you know, or what is it, Chimp, or one of those that you can see where they watch the videos. But I'm just fessing up and wanting to make that distinction of delayed gratification. And Susan is so good at that. And underlining, when you start a business, you can't expect to have, not only can you not expect to have income come in for the first 2 years, but the income you come in is invested back into your business. I think we've dropped that. And Mike, maybe you can pick up the ball and clean it up. I know Linda Morris normally cleans up my communication and dots the I's and crosses the T's, but you know, that was a big, big aha for me just now in this call. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that. I wanted to come back to this slide because, you know, this is such a critical point. How do you get from the left-hand side to the right-hand side? How do you avoid, you guys are seeing, yeah, you're seeing it, okay. It's the whole idea of leveraging a system, adopting a system, you know, like I said, with what Leo is doing, it's not very complicated. His system is actually very, very simple. He has a series of emails that he fires out to somebody once he has their email address, and those emails do the work. They basically inform the person and give them the options to opt in, and where the conversations can get started. But what I wanted to point out was what's different about the left-hand side from the right-hand side is selling customers is about the product. Selling people on joining me, Ken, is about the business. But the right-hand side is not about those things. It's about lifestyle and a vision for a future reality. It's a vision that is more encompassing. And to have that level of conversation with somebody requires a commitment. In fact, it's more than a commitment, it requires conviction. Without conviction, it's hard to have that conversation. So if you don't have conviction of the possibility of a future reality, living what is promised, what's possible here, then it's going to be difficult for you to transition somebody into that conversation altogether. It's really about conviction. And so if we consider what are you convicted about, I would say everybody on this call, 100% conviction on the products. Are you convicted that somebody can join this business and get a better price on the products and maybe sell some products and so forth? Are you convicted that sponsoring somebody is a good idea? I would say if you're at 100% on selling a customer on the conviction of the products, if you're not somebody who's sponsoring somebody, then your conviction on sponsoring is lower, if maybe very low. If you're not using a system, if you're not, sharpening the axe with regularity because you're really looking for a better way to add value to yourself, to the people you enroll. The first thing I do when I sponsor somebody or when I go into recruitment mode is I tool up. It's the very first thing I do, because I know if I don't have a system to share, I don't have a business opportunity to share. I need a system because that's what people need to buy. They can buy a product, they can buy an opportunity with a credit card, but they're not going to buy a future with that. They need a system. And Nikan has the backdrop. They have the incentives, they have the compensation plan, but they don't tell you how to do this. They don't say, make a list. And so there's a system that's involved in this business that's a necessary component to develop the skill set in order to turn that idea, that vision, and that ambition into something. So having a vision is what drives the right-hand side. The people who make these big companies happen are not necessarily the smartest people in their company, ironically, but they surround themselves with people who can get the job done. That's really the role of an excellent CEO. And I have to say, we have an excellent CEO, and he's doing exactly that. Maybe Ben, you can share a little bit about what we know about that. But I think the point that I'm saying is, if you're looking to transition, where's your conviction? I have conviction for the future. This is what drives Mike DiMuccio. It's what's always driven me. I have a passion for the future. I'm always looking to improve my circumstances. I'm always looking to improve the way I do things. I'm always looking to improve the way others do things. That's why I put systems together, because it's a challenge it's an engineering challenge to make things better, to constantly improve, the whole Kaizen concept. So the vision is what compels me. It's what drives me. And if you remember Sophia, my daughter, she had a number of interactions with us on this call, and she's done her own videos. And one of the things she's always talking about in terms of the law of attraction is, if you're not compelled by, driven by a future reality, if you're not working toward that, then you're being driven by the past. And your results are one-to-one with that. So if vision of the future is what compels people to have conviction of the future, and then therefore do the activities that correlate to that, that's going to drive behavior. That's going to create a certain type of behavior, and it's going to feed itself. So what I'm seeing in Leo's team is I'm seeing he did something, he put a system in place, he's got conviction of the heart for it, and then he's starting to see duplication. That's starting to mount. Every call is now consistently packed with guests, and not just consultants, but guests, which reinforces the vision and starts to build the momentum of that. And we're seeing the results of that in terms of the scorecard in his business. So the pecking order, I guess you could say, is maybe it starts with the product, but it has to transition to the bigger picture, the vision of a future reality. Otherwise, you won't invest in the system. You won't figure out how it works or do the reading. You won't read the book. You may have gotten the book, but you didn't read the book. You know, I can't remember how many times Richard asked, did you read the book? Did you read the book? Because you may have the book, but if you didn't read the book, what's the point of having the book? So the point being, if you're falling short somewhere in terms of your conviction, then that's where you want to really reach up and get some help. You know, can communicate with somebody who's not falling short on that. And one of the things that I do is I communicate up. To me, up is Nikan. I don't see myself, Ben, I love you, you know that. And we talk every now and then, but for me, I need to know what the vision of Nikan is. So when Nikan started announcing, when Luis Kasuga started announcing his vision, that's Vision 2025, that's when things really get exciting for me. Because it's one thing for us to yak about it on the, you know, my vision of the future, blah, blah, blah. But when it's put on a drawing, a picture graph, and it's now being broadcast as this is where we're going. How do we get there? We don't know. We haven't gone there yet. We haven't figured that out. But if we don't have a vision, and again, I'm reminded of something that I've said, I'm sure, and I've actually recently told some of our politicians here locally that I'm speaking with. I said, this is straight right out of Bob Proctor, so hats off to him. He said that, you know, Dr. von Braun was put in charge of the space program back in the early 60s when Kennedy was president. Back then, they had not sent a man to the moon. They did not have the technology at that time in place.
They don't.
And so what happened was, let me just mute that line there. Okay. What happened was President Kennedy turned to Dr. von Braun and asked him, what's it going to take to put a man on the moon? And in no time flat, Dr. von Braun said, the will to do it. Now, that's it. It's that's the conviction. It's the will to do it. If you don't have the will to do it, you're not going to figure out how to do it. You're not going to invest the time, the energy, the resources, attract the people, because nobody's going to buy into something if you're not even bought into it. So I say that because if I was going to put a thermometer on business, I can tell you a good business from a bad business based on the conviction of the person pitching it. Are they trying to convince me it's a good business because they're using all their, you know, sales tactics, all the things they've learned, the word jargons and so forth? Or do they actually have conviction of the heart? I can tell. Can you? I'm sure you can. And that's the difference. And I go back to my beginnings in Nikan when people used to always say, you're so sincere. That was the word they kept telling me I was, which tells me today, looking back, I had conviction for the future. And they could see that. I was completely transparent. I wasn't trying to sell them. I was simply emoting that conviction that I had. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for what does it take? What is the will? What's that mean? The conviction. Any comments about that? But don't all speak at once.
Agreed.
Anybody?
Well, I'll say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, I've had a vision for, you know, for me, where my vision is lacked is the vision for the other people.
Ah,
And I think that as I talk with people, I have to, in my own mind, envision what success would look like for them. And basically emote that feeling, I suppose. But I don't know, I've learned a lot from all this, you know, about, you know, how our own emotions can affect other people. How, well, we're like you said, work from the heart. When my heart connects with their heart, now we've got something. And it's just amazing. I am having a lot of success. I may not be signing up the people, but I am signing up the people that are interested. And one of these days it's going to break. But it goes back to what's my vision, and I have to have that fully available in my heart and my head, that I'm emoting that whole, I want 1,000 people or 2,000 or 10,000. And I have to have that vision in my head, and naturally it will just come out. It will come out if that's where I'm at.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
You mentioned vision for others, and then you said, if I can connect to them on an emotional level, then that's kind of our starting point. And I think that's the answer. Where the vision for others comes from, ask them what their vision is for themselves. That's the conversation I'm talking about. That's hard to have.
That's right.
It's easy to talk about the product that you love.
Mhm.
It's easy to talk about the semantics of what it takes to sign up as an ECAN consultant. If you got a credit card and $19 credit, you can be a consultant. Big book. That doesn't change lives. What changes lives is vision. Where there's no vision, the people will perish. Vision is what changes lives. And if there's anything we want to guard, is our vision. That's why it's really important what you take in, what you submit yourself to, whether that is something that's uplifting or something that's bringing you down. Don't entertain anything that's going to take you down, because it's pretty hard to have a positive outlook and a positive vision. But coming to the vision of others.
Can I talk to the vision a bit?
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't completely state the whole thing. I play with a lot of people. We do a lot of athletics, and I can tell you that I am where I am because of Nikan, and I exude that when I'm speaking with other people. And one of the things I have as a vision is I have to ask people all the time, where do you want to be in 20 years? And how old are you now? And how long would you like to stay at that age?
That's a great question.
And and then I tell my story. But it's helping them to envision where they want to be relative to what I've been able to do for myself. But what can they pull out for themselves that drives them, impels them to want to do what I'm doing? And I think it has a lot to do with, I'm very good at what I do, and I think they want to be good too. And so anyway, that's kind of
Let me, if I may, and I'm going to jump to Lane next. Your vision for others. First of all, get a little bit more clear about it. Is it 1,000? Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? The universe is trying to figure that out right now because you're jumping around. So make it, just be definitive about it, because it's an open book. You get to write history. One, I think I lost my other point. We'll come back to it. But yeah, let's go to Elaine. Elaine, jump in. You're on mute.
I'm a project person. I tend to absolutely immerse myself in something, just completely all day long in that thing until it gets done. I'm at a place in my life where I have 3 or even 4, and that's not even counting family, things that I have to do. And so I'm having a hard time maintaining my vision because I cannot immerse myself in it. Any thoughts or suggestions from you or anybody?
Okay, so maybe the struggle you're having right now is the correlation of time. You're in the time paradigm. And what we want to switch to is the value paradigm. In other words, it doesn't always have to be how much time you put into something. It's the value that you add. One person can add tremendous value with just a little bit of time, and another person all the time in the world, and it seems to be a waste of time.
Yeah.
So it's really a question of defining what's the value that you add. So why don't you start by defining what's the value that you add? One of the things that you talked about in the previous call was that you had a few spokes, and Nikan was a way to be a holistic approach to life, right? And you were a conduit through which people could experience that. So start defining that value that you bring. You guys don't give yourself nearly as much credit as I think I see you. Do you realize that you have not only the history of wellness, more so than most people. You know, you're part of the pioneering of the idea of wellness in North America. You've had the advantage of Nikken technology, Nikken philosophy for living, the idea of leverage and compounding. You guys know so much more than the majority of the population, than more than 80% of the population. What is the value of that if unleashed? What would it take? Like, let's say there was a 20-year-old version of you right now who knew everything you knew. Wow. Like, what would you do with that? What would you be saying to yourself? Hey, 20-year-old self, this is what I suggest you do. And maybe take your own advice. That might be a little thing to do. Have a 5-minute interview with yourself and talk to your 20-year-old self. What would you be telling your 20-year-old self right now, knowing what you know? I bet you it's really good advice. Maybe advice you would take yourself. Barb Richmond.
Something that Richard said last Monday night, and he repeated it more than once, was when you enable a person or find out a person's vision, they can build a business once and get paid forever. And that's something that we don't necessarily think to say to a prospect when you get deeper into the conversation. I hadn't really thought too much about it until I heard him repeat it numerous times. And I thought, you know, that really is what our whole business is about, but we don't state it in that way. So if we have somebody that catches the vision, what better way to enforce it or reinforce the vision as to the potential, the possibilities? Then it's up to them to feel it and indicate that they want to pursue it. That's all I have to say.
I think that's really critical. One of the things, that point.
Mike, I need to add something really quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In the very beginning, when I was a rookie, I couldn't even tell you what a vision was. I had to hear somebody else's vision, jump on their skirt tails until I could create my own vision. So what I say to Wes is, create your vision big enough. And Mike, maybe I jumped on your skirt tails. I don't know. I jumped on a few people's that I heard out there. You know, I think, you know, Julie was a gold. I was just out there and I'm like, God, these guys can do this. I can do this, you know, but I had to get to that point that I could even see it for myself before I could start to dream it, because I had given up so much before. I was so into, I had thrown the towel in, right? And I was really in that I couldn't be a multimillionaire. I just thought, this is it. This is my life. I got 2 kids. I, you know, a little bit more month at the end of the paycheck and yada, yada, you know, whatever. And then all of a sudden someone gave me my health back. And then I just had, you know, the nuggets, and I held onto those nuggets. And where's it, Elaine? I had silver everywhere. I had platinum, you know, places. I had diamonds, you know, places. So every time I saw that, I had a chime on my front door. And when I opened the washing machine, right? When you open the washing machine, I had a little tiny chime, queer little 5 little chime thing. And I would say the Om Mani Padme Hum 9 times and visualize myself as a millionaire, a royal diamond, and I didn't know where it was coming from and didn't know how. Every time I opened the door, I did it. And so, but I want you to talk about how you just stood up there and you didn't know where you were going to be royal diamond, how you were going to do that. You just said, this is what I'm doing. And I remember you said something about how you wanted to make sure that everybody was could read in the world. You had a whole thing about education in the world. And I was like, now I could sit on that. I could be for that. I could run with that, you know, along with Nikken and everything else. But
I think that's it. I think our vision which dictates everything. I mean, that's why I said, if you were to talk to your 20-year-old self right now, what would you be telling your 20-year-old self right now? Would you be saying, yeah, pull back on the reins a little bit. We're not sure, we're not safe. Or would you be saying, get going, like run like hell and don't look left, don't look right. And so where does that come from? It comes from the passion, the conviction we have for a future reality. And obviously the older we get, the more tamed or tempered we are with our vision. Clearly, sometimes you just don't want a bigger house. And so you're not motivated to have a bigger house. But what if you had a vision that was beyond you? What if that vision, like what Wes is talking about, was beyond you? It wasn't about your needs being met. And I think this is the biggest failure of network marketing, as much as it has been the biggest plus. Up till this time, maybe recent times, network marketing was about what could I get? And you run around the world telling everybody, if you join, this is what you can get. You can get. And it's, what are they hearing when you say, this is what you can get? They're hearing you say, this is what I'm going to get. And so we come across as getters, not givers. It's just intrinsic in the language and the way we've pitched the idea. So that's because our vision wasn't big enough. Our vision was about what we would get for ourselves, for our family. And I think it's important that you know what you want. That's why I talk about have two visions. In my PowerPoint presentation, I always talk about you have to have a personal vision. That's your life cycle plan. That's your business. I don't need to know your business. I don't need to know what you're going to do with $50,000 a month. I don't care. As long as you have something to do with it, great, good for you. But your business has to have a vision to be able to pay that $50,000 a month, to have added enough value in society to be generating that $50,000 a month. That vision has to be much bigger than you. It has to be about the value that it's adding to society. That means we have to start thinking about the value that we're adding. Hence, what you said, Barbara, was I just, latched onto somebody else's vision. What do you think I'm doing with Vision 2025? Have you guys actually thought about it for a second? 10 million new wellness homes, new wellness members in 4 years. Have you computed the enormity of that? What would we have to do that? And what's your piece of that going to be? My daughter seems to think she's going to be responsible for half of it. So that leaves the other half for you guys. And I'm not going to tell her that she's wrong. And I'm not going to tell her that she can. Because if anybody can, she can. Because she believes it. That's the difference. She's 23 and I'm 57. And I'd rather be 23 and believe that I have that possibility than 57 and wonder if it's possible. You see the difference? It's not the opportunity. It's how do we perceive it? What's our vision for the future? That's what's going to drive our behavior. Any other thoughts? Ben, you're always good at filling in the blanks.
Yeah, I think this is, I've got a little one that's just come in. So she's gone to the shops. The critical thing is experientially. This is the critical thing. So what I would suggest when it comes to looking at what size of the pie, how much of the pie do I want to have? I think it's great to be ambitious, and I encourage that ambition, because it's never exciting, especially as an entrepreneur, if our vision for what we want our future or other people's futures to look like is not exciting, if it doesn't keep us awake at night, if there isn't something that gets us, a little jittery with giddiness and enthusiasm and excitability. We've got to have that emotional manifestation in our vision. So I think we've got to start with that. And then if we look at that and go, but my belief is small, where do I go from there? I want to reassure people that it is okay to have a big vision when we start out and recognize that my belief currently as a starting point might be limited. Why? Because belief is experiential. And I'm going back to the multiple times I've quoted Mike on this. We start out step by step and we move out from there, and we take it a day at a time, a week at a time, a month at a time, as we do what Leo's doing, as we set meaningful goals, daily activities, as Richard Brooke emphasized last week, and we keep those commitments. And so what happens is, and the reason consistency is important, there's a reason behind it. It's not just about doing it for the sake of being consistent. There is method and reason behind it. When I consistently do the right things, over time, it presents evidence back to me that I can do it. And that's what builds my belief, because belief is born through evidence. Yeah, I know the sun's going to shine tomorrow because I wake up every morning and it's risen. Yeah, it's there all the time. I've got proof, I've got evidence there. So if I can give myself some baby steps that I can do consistently every day, because often the big steps we can't do on a daily basis, yeah, because they're huge steps, but the little consistent ones we can. If I can do the little consistent ones each day, eventually I'm going to get some evidence that will come back to me and say, look, you just signed someone up, you did it. Look, that person's plugging into your system and they're following the plan. Look, this is happening. And you go, it's working, it's working. And it's those little evidences. So my encouragement is have a big vision and then create some baby steps where you plug into the system on a daily basis. And along with those baby steps of consistent activity, write down and specify what are the things I should look for that will give me evidence and present it back to me so that my faith can grow. Then when my faith grows, I start to believe more, I start to take bigger steps, I get bigger responses, I get bigger proof, I feel more confident, and I get closer and closer to this bigger vision, and I start to take a bigger piece of the pie. That's the exciting thing. So we start out with the big vision, but take the baby steps and look for the evidence, but we've got to be specific, because if we aren't looking for it, we won't find it. We find what we're looking for. So we've got to plan that out just as much as we plan the steps that we've got to take to build our business consistently every day.
Perfect. Wow. You just reminded me, again, back to Sophia, because you find what you're looking for. So her vision is huge. And what happens? She sees a video of a person online on Instagram, a fitness guru, and she's got a Nikan waterfall sitting on the counter in her video, her little 2-minute segue or whatever it was. So what does my daughter do? Reaches out to her. Do you know how many people this woman has following her? 1.9 million. So my daughter is not fazed by the idea of reaching out to people who are influencers of that kind, because she has a big vision. The little thing she did was observe a person online with a waterfall. Would she have seen that? Would she have connected the dots had she not had the vision? So it's the thing that you do with consistency, but you set the tone for what you're attracting that will allow you to see. And just trust there's a connection. There's this thing that happens behind the scenes called the divine nature of reality that will put the pieces together that you could not see yourself on a conscious level. But there's something at working behind the scenes. But if your vision isn't there, you're going to attract what is there. And it's usually the rewind. We've got Barb and Madeline. We've got 4 minutes. So can you tie it up in 2 minutes each?
I can
Barb
be
first.
real fast. Richard, in one of his training videos, talks about the shoulds that, in the past, and probably some of us right now are saying to prospects, you should want to do this. You should want a bigger home. You should want the money to buy a bigger car or the car of your choice. And he said, we have to give up the shoulders because it's not their vision. It's imparting on them. It's telling them what our vision is, and we want them to be part of our vision. They've got to have their own. I'm done.
Madeline.
Italy was the turning point for me, and primarily two people. Leo, I was following Leo around with my umbrella and watching him. He was busy texting, making appointments, you know, just busy working the whole time we were having fun. And then Luis, just having to have the opportunity to be with him. Not that the others weren't fine, but I was looking at the new leader and the one that was busy. And I came back and looked at my life cycle charts, and mine from the get-go was building a legacy for the future. And I lost a little bit of that. I mean, all of my life cycle charts have had the philanthropy and the what I wanted. Now I put a few of these things in place, and I'm not funding them very well, and lost a little bit of that until this came out. I have it upside down. I probably do. And when Luis presented this, and just watching what's already happened this year, I've recaught that passion for the legacy. So it has to, what I have now has to be rebuilt if anybody's going to want it into the future. And so that's my goal. It always has been. Originally for my immediate family, but if they don't catch that vision, then it's for my Niken family. So I think we're at a perfect point where we are today. And it's really up to us, to each one of us individually and to each one of us collectively. That's it.
Fantastic. Well, you know, you guys are in store for some really amazing things. I had a really nice conversation today with our CEO, as did Ben. And maybe Ben will share a few things tomorrow on his call, but basically what we can tell you is it's really good. I'm very satisfied. I am very satisfied. You guys know me. You know I tell it like it is. I'm really excited about what I know. And what I know is that the keys are in the hands of the person who has a vision for the future that I trust and I believe in and I want to help create. And that's the only reason why I would even entertain the possibility of bringing my children into this. Leo, we got 1 minute. Leo.
I just invite you to Barbara Bertucci this Thursday morning. I will go and explain my system.
Okay. So Thursday morning, Barbara, on your call. What time's
On
your call,
Beacon
Barb?
Live, this same station.
What
this
time?
Same station as 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Thursday, 11 a.m. on the Royal Alliance Live. Come back.
We'll
Leo's going to explain
record
his
him,
system.
and then we'll have Q&A at the end.
All right, perfect. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that and your time. All right, guys, thanks for a great call. Be on tomorrow's call. We'll have more to share, and we'll see you then. Have a good week, great week.
See you, everyone.
Thank you.